Good afternoon guys, and welcome back to another video on my YouTube channel. Today's video is going to be a little bit different to the normal content. Usually I talk about travel and going away and just anything to do with exploring the world and outdoor adventures, but because it's World Mental Health Day this Saturday, the 10th of October, I wanted to do a bit of a different video which focused instead on mental health and well-being. As many of you know, I've spoken quite openly over the last 10 years of running this blog about my own mental health challenges along the way, and I'm glad over these past 10 years that me opening up about my experience has helped some of you guys too, and yeah, that's felt nice. So I wanted to do a video today because I was talking about my counselling experience a couple of weeks ago, and so many of you had lots of questions on kind of my own experience of counselling, why I got counselling, yeah, just a whole array of questions. So I was gonna do one video, but instead I'm gonna split this into two videos. This video is gonna be simply about my experiences and my mental health journey over the past 10 years. And then I'm going to release another video tomorrow on Sunday the 11th, which will be answering your questions about mental health. So they're the questions that you guys asked me on Instagram a couple of weeks ago about counselling and just generally mental health and well-being in general. So I hope that's okay if I do it that way. I feel like it'll be a lot easier to split those two topics into two, because one will then be about my personal experience and then the other will be about your questions, and still my experiences but more focused on answering the questions that you've asked me. So as I said, this Saturday is World Mental Health Day, and the theme for this year is suicide and suicide prevention. So I just think it's a very apt topic after what has been a really difficult year for everybody, and no matter how it's affected you, whether you've lost someone or you have been stuck at home or you've been shielding or you've lost your job or any kind of income or haven't been able to see family members, it's all affected us in some way or another. And of course with that comes mental health issues and problems just within ourselves, and I just thought that it was a very good time for me to open up about my experiences and share this video with you. So I will kind of talk you through kind of my past, what has it been now? I guess it's been like 15-20 years of mental health problems, but I wanted to share that with you to show that life goes on. Bad days are temporary. You can come out the other side of having really shit times, and if I can help one other person, my job is done here, because I have had days in the past 15-20 years where I've felt so low that I have considered taking my own life. And as dramatic as that sounds to some people, at the time it just felt like that was the only option. So I wanted to share my experiences. As I say, I'm going over things again like the second time around, but I think it's such an important topic that we need to talk about. We need to talk about openly, honestly, and be raw with our emotions and how we feel, and not hide away from them. So yeah, I think it's a really important topic, so I will delve straight in. I'm already at the 5-minute mark and I have not even started talking about like the timeline of my experiences. So let's get started. So of course all of our mental well-being begins with childhood, and the same for me. That's where it all began for me, and I think the most important thing to remember here is that good or bad experiences within our childhoods, we take them into our adult life. And I hadn't realised until going through years and years of therapy and counselling how much of those habits that we take forward into our adult life, and it changes our behaviour, it changes the way that we feel and the way that we are around other people. And as a child, I had a really happy childhood. My parents are amazing and I love them very much. Yeah, so I had a happy childhood, but it's also things that you don't completely consciously recollect that can affect you. And I did find that as a child I was very shy, extremely shy, to the point where like every report card we would ever get back from class, all the way through school for me, was Sophie is very shy, she needs to be more confident. And every year it was something along those lines of Sophie's very shy, she's very quiet, she doesn't want to get involved. And that was just my personality, but always feeling like how I wasn't good enough then came into my adult life. It made me feel like you couldn't be shy, you couldn't be quiet, you couldn't be lacking in confidence, you had to shout, you had to be heard, and that just wasn't my personality. So that's where it all began for me. I was a very shy, quiet child, had a lovely upbringing, and then obviously I went to school. I had similar experiences in secondary school, shyness, not really feeling like I fit in anywhere. I jumped around from friendship group to friendship group throughout my secondary school experience. I was a bit of a, even though being shy, I was still a bit of a social butterfly, and I did enjoy making friendships, but for some reason I never really felt like I fit into certain societal norms as a teenager, and that was quite difficult at times, and I often felt quite isolated from other people and therefore isolated myself from society in a lot of ways. Then going to uni for me was the stepping stone I needed. After being quite a shy child and not feeling like I knew how to fit in, and yeah, it was just a really good experience for me. It was honestly some of the best years of my life. I settled into halls really well. I enjoyed being on my own as well as making friends with people I lived with. And to this day, some of the people I met at uni are still my best friends, and they will be for the rest of my life. So I was able to make some incredible friendships being at university. But it was also during this period of time where I had my first panic attack. And that for me, that day, I can remember it very vividly, that day changed everything. I was sat in a lecture hall in my first year at uni, and I was sat like, you know, in those, the lecture halls like would go staggered back and then they would be in like rows. I was sat like in the middle of a row, like halfway up the block, and I just felt this overwhelming sense of panic. Like I just needed to get out. I got hot, I felt like I couldn't breathe. I felt like everybody was looking at me even though they weren't, because they were facing towards the front to the lecturer. And in that moment, I had my first panic attack, and I didn't ride the wave as I now know is the best thing to do with panic attacks. And I packed up my stuff, walked out and left that situation. That moment was such a pivotal moment to me because I didn't know what was happening. I honestly thought I was dying. I felt like I couldn't breathe, and that alone just, oh my god, I remember that day so well. I remember going back to my halls on campus, so luckily I hadn't got to drive anywhere or go anywhere. I literally just walked back from my lecture theatre to my halls, which is about a 5-minute walk away. And I remember going back to halls and saying to my best friend Katie at the time, well, she's still my best friend, but my best friend Katie, and telling her that I didn't know what was happening. And obviously she was amazing, and I remember a few of my other friends being there as well, and I kind of just explained what happened, and we obviously knew it was a panic attack, but I just felt so drained and exhausted from it. And from that moment on, I did seek help, because I knew that I'd had a really tough start to university, in the sense that like everybody who goes to university, I had moved away from home for the first time ever. I was surrounded by people I didn't know, and just having that responsibility of like getting your way through life at that age, at 18, doing your own washing, cooking for yourself every day, like trying to stay alive effectively, right? And I just found it too much. I'd also split up with a boyfriend like in the months previous, and I just think all that change within that really short period of time was just too much for my brain, and I was unaware that I couldn't deal with that. But then the panic attack was my body and my mind kind of telling me, no, this is too much, you're taking on too much, you're doing too much, you're feeling too much. Not feeling too much, but like you're not being able to dissect what it is that's making you feel like this. So yeah, I started going to see a counsellor at university, and that was really great, and I did see them for on and off during my entire 3 years of university. That was just with a very standard counsellor that the university provided through their student healthcare and through the NHS. But then yeah, I then went on to finish university. When I left university at age 21, I feel like it hit me like a ton of bricks. Leaving university, leaving that safe bubble that we had spent 3 years getting used to, and it just, like, no one prepares you for how you're going to feel when you leave university. I think everybody kind of prepares you for that start of university, but there's no like therapy or counselling which says, oh, by the way, you're going to be depressed or you're going to feel like crap for a while, because you're basically walking away from a lifestyle and a life that you had created for yourself. So when I left university, I moved back in with my parents, I moved back home, and then started to just feel really sad and depressed. I didn't know where my life was going. I didn't know what I wanted to do next. I really struggled with that post-university feeling, the blues as such, like post-holiday blues. It was like post-university blues, and no one spoke to me about that. No one, and all my friends as well, like, and because I remember after asking them, do you also feel like this? And they were like, yeah, we do, but why are we not prepared for this more? I don't know if at the age of like 21, when you leave university, they just expect that you're ready for the real world. And yeah, but no, I did. I walked into the real world and just felt like I had been slapped in the face, and I didn't know what to do. So it was then that I started going to counselling again back at home. I signed up to my doctors back in my hometown and started going to counselling on the NHS. Obviously they put me in touch with a lot of group classes, which I'd never really got on with. For me, my anxiety is very much around social anxiety and fear. So the fact that the NHS counselling service put me into group counselling sessions, honestly, like, it just blew my mind, because my anxiety was around being near strangers and being in social situations. I don't know if they thought it was going to help me be more confident, but it didn't. So I started doing that for a couple of months, and I took a temporary job working, well, doing bits and bobs basically, for a year before I went travelling with my best friend. So yeah, a year rolls round and I went travelling with my best friend to Australia and New Zealand for 4 months. And this was the trip of a lifetime, and we just had the best experience. I was reunited with my best friend who I'd lived with at uni for 3 years, and I felt alive and ready to kind of see the world. And the entire year in that build up to that trip, I felt so excited because I had something to look forward to. That post-university blues kind of disappeared because I had a focus and I had a goal, and I knew that at the end of that year I was going travelling. So yeah, the travelling happened. We went to Australia, New Zealand, and we had the best 3-4 months ever. But of course, all good things have to come to an end, as we all know. And yet again, I went home and struggled for a while. So once I got back to the UK, I then was back in the real world and I started to job hunt. I got a job in Cambridge and moved to Cambridge from Milton Keynes to work there. I moved on my own and I started my new job, and I felt good. I felt like life was moving on. I felt like life was moving in the right direction as well, and I was really happy and excited to finally be starting what I saw as a career and a step in the right direction on that journey. But it didn't quite go like that, and only a couple of weeks to a couple of months into me working for that company, I started having panic attacks again. I now, looking back on it in hindsight, put that down to just the amount of change that happened all in one go again. Leaving family and Theo behind, and then also starting a new life basically, and feeling very disconnected from the life that I had before. And it was just too much, and I started having panic attacks. But obviously, it being my first job on my new career journey, I decided to hide it, and I did my utmost best to hide my panic attacks and my anxiety from my employer for close to 9 months really. Unfortunately, that job came to quite an abrupt end when my mental health just got too much, and I decided to step away from that job when I realised it wasn't the right company to be with. I felt after that experience very low. I don't really know how to put it other than that. It was a really difficult time because I felt like I'd failed, I felt rejected, I felt vulnerable, I felt sad, and it was also within that kind of 12-year period where I also had about like an experience which will stay with me for the rest of my life, and I to this day still suffer with PTSD because of. So I don't really see that year as a very good year. It's one that I have had to look back on and dissect over the past few years with therapy to finally move on from it. But it was a tough like 12 months during that period of time, and even though it was a bad year, I have got so much out of that experience. I have learned so much about myself, and it pushed me to make decisions about what I wanted in my life and how I wanted to live my life. So yeah, that year ended and I moved back home, took a little break, and then got back into the swing of it by getting a job at another place down the road. Me and Theo moved in together after being together for 3 years, which was exactly what I needed, and living with him honestly is the best thing ever. Like, I love him so much. That sounds so soppy, but anyway, living with Theo just made everything a lot easier. Being able to confide in him and him always be there when I needed him was much better for me than us being separated by like 3-hour drives. So yeah, we moved in together, I got another job and I started working for another company. That didn't last very long either because I was still kind of healing from my experience in my previous employer, and also the panic attacks and the experiences that I'd been through that previous year. So I was there only a couple of months, before I left again and went to another place where I worked for another 4 months, and then I left that one as well. And I found that I just could not commit. I was so anxious all the time, I had so many panic attacks all the time, I just couldn't deal with it. It was just too much, but there was just this stuff in my head, and this is going back to like the kind of childhood, teenage years, like habits that we take through with us to our adult life, is that I had always just been told, like all of us, many of us had been, is just to crack on, get on with it, stop moaning, like you'll get over it kind of attitude. And to be quite honest, like if I had just stopped and dealt with it at the time and stopped telling myself that I just needed to crack on and get over it, I could have probably dealt with a lot of my mental health issues a lot earlier than I did. Yeah. But hindsight is a funny thing, and yeah, I was having therapy and counselling on and off, still with the NHS at that point, but it was once I left that third, fourth job that I was like, right, I gotta get my shit together, and I stopped doing the NHS counselling and I signed up for private counselling. Now there's a website that I've always used, which I think is called findacounsellor.com. I will pop the web URL below. And it was at that period that I found a psychotherapist, and I worked with her for 8 weeks on a set program to really go deep and hash out some of these psychological issues that I'd been having for the past 6 years. And I saw her, and she was brutal. Like honestly, she made me feel anxious, and she made me feel awkward, and she made me feel like I didn't want to go to therapy. But the minute I left, well no, throughout that 8-week period and the minute I left that therapy program, I felt like I had overcome so many obstacles. I felt like I'd been able to get down to the nitty-gritty of a lot of my mental health issues, and I was so happy to walk out the other side of that program and really understand more about the way I am and how I feel and how I react, and how I am around other people. So once I left the psychotherapy program, I then had a break for a while because I really felt like it had moved me along, and I cracked on with life for a couple of years, and I got a new job, which I am still with today. I am pleased to say. I've been there for 4 years now, so I'm very happy that I've finally been able to commit to a job that I love. And then 2019 rolls around, and for me 2019 was a big year. It was a year of growth, of healing, of learning, and it was then I decided to go back to counselling again after about 2 years break, and I found a lovely lady who I still use to this day for counselling on the counselling website that I mentioned previously, and she is the most incredible woman, and I've been seeing her ever since, and I see her in blocks rather than continuously every week, because I just can't afford to do it every week, so I tend to do 6 to 8 week blocks with her, and then I stop for a while once I feel like I can kind of feel and grasp what we've talked about, and then if I ever find that I need to see her again, I just text her and I start seeing her again. I'm still privately seeing her. I'm not on the NHS because I found that seeing her was just the best option for me. I didn't want to go back to the NHS counselling service, just because for me it didn't suit my lifestyle and what I needed out of counselling. That's not to say that the NHS does not provide an incredible mental health service, and if you are struggling, go to your doctor, sign up for counselling and get the help that you need, because I am in a privileged position now that it means that I can pay for private counselling, but that isn't the case for everyone, and I totally understand that. And I had NHS counselling for over 5 years and it worked at the time, but for me now private counselling is the way forward, and that's how I'm going to continue for the foreseeable future. So 2019 came to an end, and it was a really big year for me. It was a really happy year. I achieved a lot, I grew within my career, and I was ready for 2020. And then 2020 comes around, doesn't it? And it was the year that we were all very excited for on the 31st of December 2019, and just everything changed. For me, this year has been the most transformational year of my life. It has been challenging, it has been exciting, it has been scary. I started this year going on a bit of a, I set myself up for this year to be one of the best years of my life, and although it's not planned out as I expected, it's still been something that I am incredibly proud of, and something I am incredibly happy that I've tackled and challenged myself to get through this year. Despite any of the COVID stuff, it's still been such a transformational year. At the beginning of 2020, I decided that it was time to sort out my PTSD. I hadn't really realised until 2019 that it was PTSD, but have since been diagnosed with PTSD and have since been seeing my counsellor to get through those topics. And I have grown and learnt so much this year about myself. God, even thinking about this year just makes me really emotional, because it's just been such a tough year. And yeah, it's been such a challenging year, and I don't want to take away from anyone else's experience of 2020, but coming to terms with some of the stuff that I dealt with over the past 8 years, it came to a bit of a, it came to a head at the beginning of this year, after seeing my counsellor for a while and wanting to open up to those people that I love about an experience of mine. And that began with Theo, of course, and I'm not going to talk about my experience and what it is, so I don't really want to talk about it too much in this video, but it made the previous 8 years of panic attacks and anxiety make sense. And I would never have got that without going to counselling and seeing my therapist during that period of time. I've been seeing her since lockdown ended again, and we've been going through some stuff again and putting in practices to live my life post PTSD. I think that's the way to think about it, really. So yeah, I don't want to dwell on that experience really on here, because this is a video about counselling and I don't want to deviate too much, but I might come back to it another time. But yeah, this year has been big. This year has been transformational for all of us. It has thrown life upside down, and it has been really hard for a lot of people as well. And so it's no surprise that suicide rates have increased this year, and that makes me incredibly sad to know that people have felt like there is no other option. So the fact that World Mental Health Day this year is the theme of suicide prevention is just incredible, and I hope that hearing my story and hearing the experiences that I've been through, which when I say it back now, having listened to myself during this whole video, I'm like, wow, a lot's happened over the past 8 years. But my point is, and this is the whole point of this video, and the reason why I waffled for 15 minutes before this, is that I wanted to show that you come out the other side. You come out the other side better, bigger, happier, and just more confident in moving forward with your life. And I just wanted to share how many ups and downs I have had over the year, from losing jobs to living alone to leaving university to going travelling. Like, the roller coaster of emotions and mental health over the past 8 years for me has been insane. and I just wanted to share my ups and downs with you, for anyone that might be struggling at the moment, to show you that if you're having a bad day today, tomorrow is another day. And I still have really bad days, but my point is that everything is temporary, and if you seek out the right help and talk to friends or family, see a doctor, get counselling, and just learn more about yourself and make changes within your life, the opportunities out there is endless. So yeah, that's where I wanted to end the video. I wanted to give you guys a bit of a lowdown on my personal experience of mental health over the past decade, and kind of show you that life goes on. And I hope this video was interesting, and I hope this video helps even just one person understand that we all go through ups and downs in life, but we all come out the other side as long as we put in the work and we get the help that we need. So I hope you all have a lovely Saturday. I hope that you are able to share your stories of your own mental health journeys, and yeah, I'd love to hear them. So drop me a message on Instagram if you ever want to chat. I'm always here to offer a shoulder to cry on or to answer any questions. Stay tuned for the video tomorrow, because that's going to be answering all of your questions about counselling. If you like this video, hit the like button. Please share it with your friends and family, and if you want to get notifications on when my next video goes live, hit the subscribe button, and yeah, have a lovely day.